I think I need to get the Just for Men out. It's getting a little gray in there. Hey, I'm not childish, and this is Kevin Wareheim. Might be a little vain though. I don't think I want to get too gray at this age anyway. Well, I thought I was going to move on to my senior year, or my high school years. Thank you. But I came across too many experiences that I felt like I should cover while I was still in middle school. So I'm going to have one more session as for in my middle school on my Why Me series. And of course, for those who don't know, my Why Me series is basically like an autobiography, but really only talking about specific things that happened to me. Some funny, some not. So anyway, in middle school, I was learning that I was creative, and didn't really know I was, but I just went out and did things. I failed to mention that I was in a rock band, and the reason they wanted me, which I only found out maybe about 10-15 years ago, was because my voice was raspy. We only had one concert, and it was only one song. And that was Stepping Stone by, I believe it was Paul Revere and the Raiders, and I think also the Rolling Stones did it, I'm not sure. And we did it in the music class for our singing music teacher, and for me it was a terrifying experience. I didn't really have any confidence whatsoever. And the whole time she stood in the back of the class and was looking at us almost with disgust. And of course, you now have to realize that this is probably 1970. So between the older people and the young people, there was a big gap, the generation gap, I think they called it. Completely different views at the time. So there was one. Another one, a thing that happened is while I was in middle school, I experienced having a science teacher for his very first year of teaching. Not that I was involved in this, but he absolutely lost total control of our class. I mean, anything and everything was done. Short of launching rockets off of the desks, which actually happened in one of the other classes. He even ran out of the class once and had to go get the principal of the school to get us back in control. And I say us, I really didn't do much at all. I wasn't necessarily afraid, but I wasn't part of the in crowd, so I just sat back and watched it all happening. If there's a lesson to be learned there, you have to come in tough. You can ease up later on, but you can't be nice and very giving at first, or no matter who you are, people will take you over. And once they got control of you, to turn it around is nearly impossible. So remember that, all you bleeding heart liberals, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. In this time was when Star Trek was on TV, and I identified with Spock very much so. I really believed in the idea of everything being logically decided, no emotions whatsoever. And I am very, unemotional, believe it or not. I laugh very seldom, and I even cry. Well, for people who die, I never cry. I've never, I mean, once they're dead, it's too late to do anything about it. So that wasn't a big deal for me, but Spock was just definitely my man. There's no doubt about it, and I still use his logic today. Another little project I had was I said I built rockets. Well, I had this idea of building one like a pinwheel, only laying flat, so it would spin and go up. But I built it all out of galvanized metal. That was crazy. I mean, I even knew it wasn't going to work, but that's the way I was. I had to do it. I had to try, and I knew it wasn't going to work, but I wanted to see what happened anyway. I wanted to even, you might say, prove that I was right about being wrong. I made the pods for the engines. I had 2 engines on it out of metal. I soldered them to the outside of the pinwheel. I set this all up out in a big open area behind our house, so I shouldn't hit anything. I used a tractor that we had to hide behind. So when I launched it, I knew that I wouldn't get hit by the damn thing, or at least I hoped I wasn't. And then I set her off, and that sucker started climbing up into the air, and the guide rod then started waving back and forth, and about that time the whole thing just flew apart. And one of the rocket engines shot over and landed right underneath the tractor I'm standing behind. So there I am, about 2-3 feet away from this thing, and you have to realize they're going to backfire. Those engines all are designed to kick the chute out. So this sucker was going to blow up in a couple seconds, and there was no place for the gas to go because I had put a cap on the end. So when it blew up, it split open that metal tube, and nothing came at me, but it made a nice big bang and pretty much destroyed everything that I had built. So I laughed at it and thought it was the greatest thing, but like I said, I just had to do it. I just went ahead and did it, even though I knew it wouldn't work. So that might give you a little bit of idea how my mind is. In fact, it's still that way. I get very mad when people won't let me do something, even if I know it's not going to work. Because I want to see that, I want to blow it up. I want to do something. I want to start a fire, and I'm going to have a whole thing on fires at some point that I've started. Only the last couple were out of control, but well, I'll share that with you. There was one other thing that I had happen to me in middle school, and I have no idea why. You always see the bullies getting together and teasing and beating up the nerds and all that stuff. The guys, the girls that carry all their books and things like that. I was walking down the hall one day, and for some reason I actually had a lot of papers with me. Now, I wasn't known for hauling a bunch of stuff around, and really I wasn't a nerd as such because I had terrible grades. So I really didn't fit in with them either. And so here I am on down the hall, and a bunch of the bullies were all leaning up against the wall to their home room. And one of them just reached out and grabbed me and shoved me in the door, and they literally just pushed all the desks out of the way, created a circle, and then just started bouncing me around inside there. Now, of course, it wasn't funny back then, and I didn't know what was going on, but I didn't do anything. I just tried to hold on to my stuff so I didn't have to clean it up. Well, of course, that didn't work, and everything fell out of my hands. And they got tired of pushing me around because I didn't fight back and I never said a word. And so then they just walked back out and leaned up against the wall, and I was left there picking up my junk. And I walked out the door, they didn't say a word, and I went on down the hallway. Funny thing is, one of those guys actually married my ex, and there's a lot of stories along with that that aren't going to be too funny in a way. I'll be sharing them as well. So now I think I'm done with middle school. Oh no, I've just forgot another one. I was in a play day type thing where we were going to do demonstrations on gymnastics. And I was on the trampoline. Now I wasn't any good at it. I couldn't do anything really interesting, but well, let me share you in practice. You know, you put a bunch of people around the outside of the trampoline to be spotters, to keep the person from falling off. And this girl was up on there, and she's one of the popular girls, of course. And she come flying my direction. I'm just a little kid. I mean, you know, in other words, compared to everybody else, I wasn't growing up as fast as everyone else was. And when she came flying, I didn't try to stop her, I ducked. Oh, she was mad at me. I got yelled at for something awful. I didn't say a word. So anyway, the night of the gymnastics thing, I have my turn up there. And again, I just have to do that one little thing that's not part of what I'm supposed to be doing. And right at the end, as I'm just taking my last couple bounces, I take and I spread my legs like this and back, you know, and then spread them the other way and back. And of course, from a side view, it looked hilarious. And everybody was laughing. And then I just got off and, you know, set up around there. So there you go. There's my last adventures that I'm going to cover anyway. I'll be moving into high school next. Gets a little more interesting. A lot more observations about growing up, maturing. So, till next time, I'm not mature. I'm not childish, excuse me. I'm at a higher level of immaturity. Have a good day.